Welcome back to Kami Bay Airsoft channel, and in today's video I am going to talk about another QC issue. And before I get into it, this is probably going to be the last video I'm ever making on the GHK AK because frankly there's no new parts for the GHK AK and there's no improvements made to the system, and QC has only been dropping off. And as I've been saying in different channels and social media platforms, that the GHK AK is dead. If you're still running a GHK AK, it's probably because you're running an older one, because the older ones are relatively free from QC issues, or they have less QC issues, and so most of it is fixable or aesthetic. And actually, in today's video, this AK is actually one of the older ones because this AK has a more distinct chemical blue finish on the receiver, and the folding stock pin is the older style GHK one, which is not crowned. It has a dimple, a small dimple on the cross pin itself. If I can find one around here. So the older cross pin would look something like this. So one of the older cross pins look like this. There's a notch, just like that. The newer pins are crowned, which are probably OEM'd by LCT, and these are the cross pins that come with the LCT version of the PT stocks, and also their new AK-19 style folding stock. And so let's get into it. So what is the short receiver issue, as the name of the video implies? Well, it's basically what it is. It's that the receiver is running too short. And this QC issue affects all GHK AKs that have been produced over years. It is simply a variation or a small tolerance fault in how long the receiver is. And when I say how long, I'm measuring from the front of the receiver to the rear trunnion where the dust cover seats. And why is it a QC issue, and why has no one actually really noticed it until now, is because, well, unless you work with the B33s or trying to build a proper Alpha AK and actually build it properly, in this case, the B30 handguard replica, which I have here, is by TWI. This is mated. This is absolutely flush with the receiver, and I have adjusted it and shimmed it as such so that there is no play. This handguard is rock fucking solid. It will hold zero if you mount your attachments, your flashlights, your laser on it. And because this is rock solid, in theory, it means that your B33, which is mated to the B30, should also be rock solid, but it doesn't fit because the receiver is too short. And why I say that, and why is it not the fault of the B33, is because here is I believe it's a Accessory Dynamics B33 replica, and if I pop it on and lock it, in place. So that's seated in the groove. It's not really locked, but who cares? Point is to illustrate that it's inside the groove, all the way in the groove, and you can see that. If you can see this, yep. The mounting holes is offset by around 2 to 3 millimeters. 2 to 3 millimeters here. And that is exactly how much shorter this receiver is, because this receiver, as I've measured it, is 25.7, if I recall correctly. 25.7, which is exactly 4 millimeters, 3 or 4 millimeters. And you would say, well, 3 or 4 millimeters isn't much, right? Relative to 26 centimeters, 260 millimeters. Well, 4mm is exactly how much the bolt holes are offset by, because the bolt, the 4 bolts holding the B33 in place, they're M5s. They're 5mm in diameter, and if it's offset by 3 mils, that's more than half the diameter of these bolts. So that's 1 radius, and they're offset, meaning that if you mount your B33 correctly and that's flush to the receiver, you can't mount your B33 correctly because the holes just won't line up because it's too short. And so a correctly manufactured GHK AK or the GHK AK replica receiver should measure 26mm. And no, it's not the fault of the B33, because I have with me another B33. This one is by 5KU, and it's different because the Russian acrylic, they're printed differently. Just to illustrate that it's not the same brand, and that's just the WNS recall guide. And because this is in FDE, you can actually see it better. And shitty lighting, but it's lined by 2mm, 2 or 3mm. They just won't line up, okay? They just don't. And another one. This is a TWI because TWI has a counterflush hole here. And the Russian acrylic is printed far more forward at the 13 mark. Asura lines up to 14. 5KU, 14.5, nearly at 15. They're different. They're not the same manufacturer. And so all 3 of these dust covers, they're manufactured consistently. That's to say, they all don't line up with the B30 because it's not a manufacturing error on the B33. It's a manufacturing error on the receiver itself. And this is the worst of them all. So this is off by at least 4mm. Anyway, I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but so 4mm. That's how much offset there is due to the shorter receiver. It's absolute bullshit. And so, if you're wondering why your replica B33 doesn't fit your GHK AK, it is because the receiver is too short. So, for a B33 mount correctly, your receiver needs to measure 26cm. The distance apart from the front of the receiver to the rear turn-in where the dust cover seats into is 26cm exact. It could be longer by 0.1 or 0.2, and it should still fit, but no shorter. And to illustrate it, this is not the only AK issue I have. Another AK with me, a certain AOPU's Alpha AK, and just move that lamp out of the way again. Yep, ring light. His AK, the handguard, is not even seated. It's not even flush to the receiver. There's a gap, as you can see, with Teflon tape that's been used to kind of shim it. And this is mounted, but to actually get it to fit, we had to, or he had to, cut a slot in the B33 so that there's some play and you can actually bend the goddamn B33 into the dust cover groove. So if this B30 was mounted all the way back, flush receiver, this dust cover simply can't close because, again, this receiver is too short. This one, I believe, measures 25.8. Not much better, but still not enough because it needs to measure 26. And this is the 5KU version of the B33. As you can see, it's the same. Actually, no. The text doesn't line up. It's probably B3. It's probably 5KU shitting around, but it's the same finish. All right, 5KU has the same shitty finish that scratches off pretty easily. And this does close, but it's been compromised. Like we have to cut a slot and to bend it to actually close it all, and there's still a gap in front of receiver. So it's definitely not the fault of a B33. And because there's a bit of play in the lower receiver, the handguard has a bit of twist. It just isn't fully secured as it should have been, and so it doesn't hold zero because of compromises. And that's just how it is. You can't change it. Like you can't change the receiver length. It's another trunnion issue, but this time it's not the front trunnion. It's rear trunnion. So this is actually, I'd say it's not as hard to replace as a front trunnion if you had the right tooling, but it still isn't accessible to the average owner that doesn't have a lathe or like a goddamn the machinery to do it, basically. And so if you wanted to build a full Zenico Alpha AK, well, chances are it might not even fit because of the manufacturing error. And I have only discovered this because I don't normally work with B33s, and when I did, it finally clicked to me that all those tight dust cover issues, B33's not fitting, yada yada yada, was all because of the receiver being too short, cut too short, or the rear trunnion just mounted too short, mounted too forwards. It's not for rack enough. And Thesis actually knows of this, but it is not in their interest to actually tell you because they're paid to get the parts to fit on your AK. They just do it. You don't really question how they do it. And how they did it was that usually they fill in the floor mounting holes and they redrill them offset to the amount of distance that's missing, or rather how much shorter the receiver is compared to a currently manufactured one. And this isn't their fault, but I mean, Faces doesn't really sell themselves as a service for installing replica parts. They usually only sell the AK with their own parts. That's why they don't actually tell you that they know this issue. But I'm telling you this now because I've been trying to install B33. I've been trying to make a nice Alpha AK clone, and I couldn't. And I mean, it's not the end of the world because honestly, the B33 isn't even that great because there's no good B33 clone. These are all pretty shit. The 5KU being the biggest culprit of them all. Asura and TWI are supposedly better, but still not very good. Like, one of the biggest shortcomings of the B33, the Airsoft replica B33, is that with the B33 mounted, because the Airsoft GBB BCG is elongated compared to the real BCG, you have to remove the dust cover, the B33, unmounting completely to actually strip the BCG out. And so I never really liked the B33, even though it's clone correct, or it is more Russian Zenico-like. But I have found a good compromise because I still have some of these SAG mounts with me, these Shisha Armament Group mounts that was featured on a Flannel Daddy's video, his PSA AK video, if I recall correctly, to be exact. And I wasn't always a big proponent of side mounts, the com-block mounts, because even the side mount itself has possible play. Like I've had some GHK AKs, fully stock AKs, with the com-block mount being too loose. They're loose because of the riveting issue or the rivet hole manufacturing issue I mentioned in my previous video. But because this is rock solid and tight, this is manufactured correctly, I could actually put this mount on and it would look very Russian. And well, it's not like I was going for a Russian build to begin with, because this Alpha AK was meant to be a Vickers Alpha AK clone, remixed with RD/Flannel Daddy's Alpha AK. So as you can see, the front end is very Vickers Alpha. Palm grip still Vickers Alpha. The classic Russian grip still Vickers Alpha. This is Flannel Daddy. This came from his PSA AK video. This came from his Alpha AK. So I've mixed up two AKs to make my own rendition of the Alpha AK. And because SAG is Russian, this is still overall pretty Russian except for palm grip. And one benefit of the side mount, or rather most side mounts, I think the Rs regulate style side mounts, they have sufficient clearance with the BCG to actually allow you to strip the BCG out. So Rico got it out. BCG bolt, racket to back, lift, rotate, and it comes out. Other than the fact that my PT1 is blocking it. So you can strip your AK, just a hop up, or just do a brief clean in FCG group with the side mount still installed. So you don't lose your zero with a side mount. And the sure shot armament group side mount is actually a little bit unique because on top of being able to strip your BCG out, I'm just gonna illustrate that. I'm gonna put that back in. Gas tube lock, front sight, and tighten that a bit. It's tight. Dust cover in, close, and lock. Yep. The SAG mount is form-fitting, and unlike most side mounts, this means that your PT1 stock actually folds over the SAG mount, and also it locks, it clicks. It's locked. It's locked position, and I can't unfold it. Which is interesting, because most side mounts, it is blocked. And I believe SAG manufactured the mount as such. They designed it to allow you to fold the PT1 over. I don't know if it's coincidence, but it just works. Which is amazing. It's fucking amazing. And honestly, I love this build. Even though it's close to, it's around 9 pounds. With the steel outer barrel, the steel bolt carrier group. And this is without the optics. And it makes a very good alternative to the B33, and it does not lose out on looking badass. It looks absolutely great. But the B33 issue, it still stands. I'm a bit peeved out that I wasn't able to create a clone correct Alpha AK, but I did make a unique Alpha AK, which I really like. Nevertheless, there's nothing new for GHK AK. This short receiver issue is not even new. It affects all GHK AKs, and so that really goes to show that the GHK AK is pretty shit. It's not manufactured right, consistently. When it is manufactured correctly, it is great. And I would say this particular AK it's 95%. It's so close. It's just so close to being perfect. Internally, it's great. No front trunnion issues. So the hop up, as a TNT hop up in there, no pinching. The WNS group on there, dust cover, seats correctly. But obviously I had to adjust the rear side block a little bit, just so that the dust cover actually seats correctly because of a length issue. But otherwise, it is what it is. And honestly, in good faith, I can only recommend that if you're getting a AKGBBR, please get a Murray AK. It just works out of the box. You won't be spending blood, sweat, tears, offering blood offerings to the AK gods just to make it work. It just works out of the box. The SI issue of the B33 aside, there aren't many GHK AKs left in the wild that anyone would knowingly sell if it's a good one. And that really says it about the GHK AK. Like, it's a love-hate relationship. You love it or hate it. Hate it more because of how badly manufactured it is. Love it if it's manufactured correctly, but these are getting rarer and rarer and rarer. And I'm just out of words because I've been working on the GHK AKs for a little more than 3 years now, And I haven't been in the AKs for long, but I've gone for like 30 something receivers if I include the 9 Grozas and AMD 65. But throughout COVID, I guess I've learned it all, I know it all, and there's nothing left to really explore about the GHK AK. So if you pick one up and it works, good for you. If it doesn't, well, why do you play the GHK AK lottery? It's, I guess, a 60-80% failure rate just on the newer wide receiver issues, and also the front trunnion, the misaligned front trunnion and hop up issue. So if you want to get one from someone that's reputable. If not, just get a Marui. You won't regret it.